Love Seattle. I love Seattle. I love Seattle. One of the most beautiful cities in America. Some of the best people that I've ever, had the pleasure of knowing. Place where my mom went to high school. Mercer Island. There he is with his bundle of joy. There she is. Your outstanding mayor, Ed Murray. And the main person that I'm out here to talk about, one of my favorite people in either Washington, your Senator, Patty Murray. Now, when this state first sent Patty Murray to the Senate, she wasn't one of those lifelong politicians, just wanted a big job, fancy title. She was the mom in tennis shoes, wanted to help people and solve a few problems. And what's great about it is that all these years later, that's still who she is, fighting on your behalf. She even keeps her watch apparently set to Washington State time, even when she's in Washington, D.C. And we are here today because next year, Patty Murray needs our help, the same way she's given us so much help all these years. We have to have Patty Murray back in the United States Senate. Now, we can talk about all the stuff she's done. You've seen her go to bat to keep good jobs right here in Washington State. You've seen her fight to bring good new jobs and clean energy and infrastructure. When I was in the Senate, I sat next to Patty on the Veteran Affairs Committee. There is no fiercer advocate on behalf of our vets than Patty Murray is. And she takes it personally. That means courteous and kind, but she's still tough and knows how to negotiate. She's what you want out of a political leader. And thanks to her and leaders like her, because we've got some really good people in the Democratic Party serving in Congress right now. Because of them, I've had a partner during these last 7 years, and as a consequence, the hard work and basic decency and generosity of the American people has come through. And this country has made real progress. When I took office, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month. The unemployment rate was on its way to 10%. Today, our businesses have created 13.2 million new jobs. Over a 5-year stretch, unemployment is now 5.1%. Women, just because they're women. When I took office, we were hopelessly addicted to foreign oil. We've now cut our oil imports by more than half. We've tripled the amount of power we generate from wind. We generate 20 times more energy from the sun than we did when we took office. And that's generating a steady source of good jobs that cannot be outsourced, even as it helps us save this precious natural beauty that we see in the Pacific Northwest. When I took office, our standing in the world was diminished, and today America's mobilizing the world to confront new threats, leading to make sure Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon, but doing so peacefully, leading the world towards global action on climate change. Thanks to leaders in Congress like Susan DelBene and Derek Kilmer, we're leading the world in writing smarter trade rules for the 21st century. We've begun a new chapter of engagement with the Cuban people. We've brought tens of thousands of our brave troops home to their families. We've got a lot of stuff done. High school graduation rates, highest they've ever been. College enrollment, higher than ever before. We've helped millions of young people be able to afford a college education. Reading scores up, math scores seeing improvement. We've made enormous strides, but we all know we've got more work to do. When we see what we've accomplished, though, that should give us some confidence that we can get that work done. When the cynics told us we could not change this country for the better, they were wrong. Marriage equality is now a reality in all 50 states. They said that wasn't going to happen. It happened. Don't ask, don't tell, don't exist no more. Our relationship with the first Americans, our Native Americans, have never been better and stronger than they are today. There are more job openings today than any time in our history. And by the way, our deficits are down. Cut them by 2/3. Teen pregnancy rates are down. Which makes you wonder, why are all these Republican politicians so down on America? I mean, I know it's political season, but listening to them is really depressing. And it kind of doesn't match up with the truth. In the reality that they create, everything was terrific in 2008. In the middle of the worst recession in our lifetimes. Unemployment, uninsured rates going up. We're in 2 wars, hopelessly addicted to foreign oil. Bin Laden's still at large. To hear them tell it, those were the good old days. The golden years. And then me and Patty, we messed it up. You No, but this is important because folks are struggling in communities around the country sometimes. They are trying to figure out how they can see their wages go up, and they're still struggling to afford a college education. So there are reasons why people want to see more improvement. But if they don't remember where we were, then sometimes they may feel like there's no hope. And that's what the other side's counting on, is folks forgetting what happened the last time they were in charge. You got to give them credit for chutzpah. You've got to feel bad for the fact checkers who just cannot keep the stuff they say. You know, like they're saying, wait. What he just said about climate change, that's not true. But before that's happened, suddenly they're saying something else about immigration. That's not true. Or they're saying something about the deficit. That's not true. Now, part of the reason that they have to do this is because they keep running on the same policies that caused so many problems in the first place. More tax breaks for folks at the very top, cutting investments in things like education, repealing the Affordable Care Act and kicking millions off health insurance, gutting Wall Street reform, risking another crisis by letting the biggest banks run wild, denying that our planet is getting warmer, and thereby unraveling new rules on power plants to protect the air our kids breathe. I mean, just focus on climate change for a second. If 99% of doctors said, you've got diabetes, and here's what you need to do, you wouldn't call it a hoax. You wouldn't say the science isn't clear. You'd say, oh, Doc, what do I need to do? So when 99% of scientists around the world say this is one of the defining issues, not just of our generation, but of humankind for generations to come, and you've got the chairman of the Energy and Environment Committee in the Senate holding up a snowball during winter and saying, see, it's not happening. No, that's a problem. You guys are laughing. It's a problem. That does not move us forward. It doesn't help more Americans get ahead. The point is, we can solve them if we've got serious leaders like Patty and Jay. We know what it takes to create even more jobs and grow the economy for everybody. We shouldn't be talking about shutting down the government over Planned Parenthood. And Patty's been at the forefront of fighting the Republican attempts to do that. It would be terrible for the economy at a time when the global economy is softening, and it'd be terrible for women's access to health care. We should be talking about instead opening up opportunities by investing in schools and rebuilding our infrastructure and investing in research that cures diseases and clean energy that creates new jobs. We know what it takes. We know what it takes to prepare our kids for a more competitive world. Patty's the point person on education in the Senate, and right now she's been fighting to expand pre-K, make sure every child succeeds, make it easier, not harder, for young people to go to college. We know what to do. If we want to protect our children from climate change and make sure that Washington State and the Pacific Northwest and Alaska are able to remain the incredible, spectacular landscapes that they are, if we want to make sure that we don't leave to them a planet that's not beyond their capacity to repair, then we know the steps we have to take to reduce carbon. And our economy can grow even as we do the right thing by the environment. We know that we've got to do something to prevent the kind of gun massacres that we saw just last week, 2 months before that, and 2 months before that, and 2 months before that, because it is not normal, it is not inevitable, it doesn't just happen. It is a choice that we make, and it is a choice that we can change. There are ways to protect our children and protect our rights. Don't pretend that there aren't. Don't engage in a politics of fear. We know we need to reform our criminal justice system so the punishment fits the crime and we're not perpetuating a pipeline from underfunded schools to overcrowded jails. We know we've got to update our immigration system so that it is fair and orderly and lawful. Anti-immigration sentiment isn't going to do that. Fanning the flames of intolerance isn't going to do that. This is not new, by the way. How many folks here got a little Irish in them? Well, there was a time where they were talking about that. You know, I know sometimes in the other Washington, our politics doesn't always reflect the decency and the common sense of the American people. And I know how frustrating it can be. I'm right smack in the middle of dealing with it every single day. And for a whole variety of reasons, how our campaigns are financed, how district maps are drawn, the nature of political coverage. You know, we've just got a system that all too often rewards division and polarization and short-term thinking, and rewards people who score political points rather than actually trying to solve problems. And look, it's comfortable to just say Washington doesn't work anymore. Everything's dysfunctional. Just to turn away. Or to start looking for false prophets who spout things that under examination don't really make any sense, but feed your biases and your fears. But we can't afford that. We got too much work to do. Our system's only as good as what we put into it. Our democracy is us. It's not government and us, it's us. And government's part of it. So if you really care about these things, then it's not enough just to come to events like this, although I'm glad you came. Yeah, that was pretty funny, wasn't it? You've got to feel a sense of urgency about this. I need you to fight for Patty Murray next year. And then I need you to organize and mobilize around the issues you care about. And we need you to care about referendums and ballot initiatives that can move the country forward, not just at the federal level, but at the local level and at the state level, and get your friends to go out there and vote for them and make sure that they're aware of what's happening. Make sure your friends across the country know where their leaders stand. Get them to elect people who have the political will to reflect the goodness of the American people. You know, Democrats, I'm proud of the fact that we're not just the party that's against everything. I'm proud of the fact that we're not a party that says there's an us and a them. I'm proud of the fact that our leaders care about politics. They care about getting elected, but every once in a while do things that aren't popular but are the right thing to do. We need more of that. I'm not interested in people who are just against things. I want to see what we're for. We can't be the party that blames certain groups. We got to enlist everybody in the hard work of democracy. We are at our best, this country's at its best, when we are willing to assume the best in others instead of the bad and try to recognize our own struggles and fears and hopes in somebody else. That kid for college, that's our kid. That immigrant hoping to contribute, that was our grandparent or great-grandparent. That minority who's denied the right to vote, that should enrage us because that's